Elena pulled into the driveway, her bag heavy on her shoulder, ready to collapse after another long shift. But the moment she looked toward the curb, her steps froze. Her car, the one she had worked for, bled for, wasn't empty. Rachel was in the driver's seat, her hands wrapped around the steering wheel, keys dangling between her fingers. She was smiling like she had just won a prize. Elena blinked, trying to process what she was seeing. Her father stood on the porch, arms crossed like a judge who had already given his verdict. Her mother hovered beside him, nodding, as though agreeing with a decision that had been carefully planned. "What is going on?" Elena's voice came out sharper than she expected. Rachel swung the car door open and stepped out slowly, like she was showing off something that now belonged to her. "Relax, Elena. Mom and Dad said I could have the car. I need it more than you do." The words hit like a punch. Elena's mouth went dry. That car wasn't just metal and wheels. It was her freedom. The only thing that was hers alone. She remembered every double shift she had worked, every night she had gone without sleep just to make the payment. Now her parents were standing there like it was nothing, like they had every right to hand it away. Her mother tried to soften the blow. "Honey, Rachel's starting classes next week. She needs reliable transportation. You'll figure something out. You're older. You'll manage." Her father added in a firm tone, "It's the right decision. Rachel has school. She can't be taking buses late at night. You can get another car." Elena's chest burned. They didn't ask her. They didn't even care. She could feel her heart pounding, every betrayal from years past gathering inside her. Rachel stood smug, twirling the keys around her finger, waiting for Elena to explode. But instead, Elena's voice dropped low, calm in a way that made everyone freeze. "You gave away something that wasn't yours to give." Her father frowned. "What do you mean? You're being dramatic." Elena's eyes didn't leave Rachel's face. "You're holding keys to a car that doesn't belong to me anymore. I signed it away weeks ago." The smile fell off Rachel's face. Her hand tightened around the keys. "What? No, you didn't. Stop lying." Her mother's mouth opened, then closed. Confusion spread across her face. "Elena, what are you saying?" Elena stood still, her fists clenched at her sides, fighting the scream that clawed at her throat. They thought they could steal her independence and hand it over like a toy. But they didn't know the truth. The car wasn't theirs to take, and watching their confusion, their disbelief, was the only thing that kept her from breaking apart. Rachel's smugness slipped into panic. Her parents exchanged bewildered glances, and Elena stayed silent, rage simmering inside her chest. Elena still remembered the long nights at the diner, her feet aching from hours of walking back and forth with plates balanced in her. The smell of grease and coffee clung to her clothes, even after a shower. She would stumble home after midnight, collapse on her bed, and set the alarm to do it all again the next morning. Every paycheck mattered. Every tip was tucked away into a small envelope she kept hidden in her dresser drawer. The goal was always clear: the car. Not just for convenience, but for freedom. A way to escape the feeling of being trapped in her parents' house, where nothing she did ever seemed enough. Rachel, on the other hand, never worried about money. When she wanted something, she got it. New phone, new clothes, weekend trips with her friends, all paid for by Mom and Dad. She never had to work late or skip meals to save up for anything. If Rachel forgot to fill out a form, Mom would do it for her. If she broke something, Dad would replace it without question. She was the golden child, always at the center of their attention. Elena learned early that her role in the family was different. Her father rarely praised her, no matter how hard she tried. When she got good grades, he barely looked up from the TV. When she worked late hours to help with her own expenses, he told her she was wasting her time. "Focus on something that matters," he would say, as if her effort meant nothing. Her mother, meanwhile, would always defend Rachel's mistakes. "She's still young. Don't be so hard on her," she would say, though Rachel was only 4 years younger than Elena. In that house, Elena often felt invisible. Rachel could do no wrong, and Elena could do no right. That was why the car became more than just a vehicle. It was proof that she could build something for herself, without anyone's help. The day she bought it, she sat in the driver's seat and gripped the wheel with trembling hands. Tears filled her eyes, not just from pride but from relief. It wasn't just a car. It was her dignity, her independence, her safe place. But even with the car, her struggles never ended. She still carried student loans, stacked on top of her rent and bills. Some nights she came home too tired to eat, collapsing into bed only to wake up and do it all again. She kept pushing forward because she believed hard work would pay off one day, that someone, maybe even her parents, would finally see her for who she was. Instead, what she got was silence. Rachel's minor accomplishments, like passing one class, were celebrated like great victory. Elena's bigger achievements faded into the background. No one noticed when she got promoted at work. No one cared when she paid off part of her loan by herself. Now, standing in the present moment, Elena could see the pattern clearly. Years of sacrifice, of working twice as hard, had bought her a car that symbolized everything she stood for. And in one afternoon, her parents had handed it over to Rachel as if it were nothing more than a toy. The betrayal burned because it wasn't just about the car. It was about every forgotten birthday, every dismissed achievement, every moment when she had been treated as less. The car was proof she mattered, and they had taken even that away. She thought back to the nights she had driven home in silence, music playing softly, the city lights blurring past her windows. Those drives had been her peace, her reminder that she was capable of surviving on her own. Without it, she felt like she was back in their shadow again. Elena wanted to scream, to ask them why they never saw her, why Rachel's needs were always more important. But deep down, she already knew the answer. In their eyes, Rachel was the child who deserved to be protected, and Elena was the one expected to endure. And now, watching Rachel dangle the keys with that smug grin, all the old wounds felt fresh again. Her father's voice was the first to cut through the silence. Elena, stop being difficult. Rachel needs the car more than you. You'll get another one eventually. Her mother chimed in right after, her tone soft but firm, like she thought she was being reasonable. Honey, Rachel has school. She can't be standing at bus stops late at night. You're older, more responsible. You can figure something out. It's only fair. Elena's chest tightened. She looked from one parent to the other, disbelief pressing down on her like a weight. Fair. Her voice cracked. Do you even hear yourselves? I paid for that car. Every single cent. Not you. Not Rachel. Me. Double shifts, weekends, holidays. I gave up everything just to get it. And now you're telling me it belongs to her. Rachel leaned against the car door with a smirk, spinning the keys around her finger like a prize. Don't be so dramatic, Elena. It's just a car. You'll live. Besides, you don't even need it that much. You're always working or at home. Elena turned to her, her hands shaking. You think this is a joke? That car is the reason I could get to work, the reason I could stand on my own 2 feet. And you just smile while they hand it to you like candy. Rachel shrugged, pretending not to care, but the smugness in her eyes made Elena's blood boil. Her father stepped forward, his jaw tight. Enough. You're being selfish. We're a family. Families share. Rachel's education comes first. Elena laughed bitterly. Selfish? I've been working myself into the ground for years while you spoil her. I never asked you for help. I never asked you for anything. And the one thing I did for myself, the one thing I earned, you just take it away. Her mother folded her arms, shaking her head like Elena was a child throwing a tantrum. Don't twist this. We're doing what's best for both of you. Rachel can't succeed without support. You're strong enough to start over. She isn't. Elena's heart thudded. She could feel her breaking point rushing toward her, years of being dismissed, ignored, forgotten, piling up in her chest. She stared at Rachel, who grinned wider as if she had won again. Then, suddenly, Elena's voice dropped, calm but sharp. You don't get it. You can't give Rachel something that doesn't belong to me anymore. Rachel's smirk faltered. What are you talking about? Elena stepped closer, her words steady even though her hands trembled. I signed the car away weeks ago. It's not mine anymore. Legally, it's gone. So whatever promise you made her, it's worthless. Her parents froze. Her mother blinked rapidly, confusion written all over her face. Her father's mouth twisted into a scowl. What do you mean you signed it away? Why would you do something like that? Rachel's face turned red. You're lying. You're just jealous and bitter. You don't want me to have it, so you're making things up. Elena shook her head. No, Rachel. This time, I was one step ahead. I knew something like this would happen, and I wasn't about to let you take the last thing that gave me independence. Her father's voice boomed. This is spiteful. You've let your bitterness poison you. You'd rather throw it away than help your own sister. Her mother added quickly. You're being vengeful, Elena. Families don't do this to each other. Elena laughed, but it was hollow, tired. Families don't do this to each other? Then what do you call everything you've done to me? You never stood up for me. You never saw me. You just kept giving her everything while I was left to struggle. And now, when I finally have something for myself, you expect me to hand it over without question. Her parents stared at her like she was a stranger, like they couldn't understand why she was finally fighting back. Rachel still clutched the keys, but her smirk had vanished, replaced by anger and panic. And in that moment, Elena realized the truth. This fight was never just about a car. It was about years of betrayal, of being treated like she didn't matter. The car was just the final straw, the one thing that ripped the mask off the family she thought she had. The kitchen was heavy with silence after the fight. Elena sat at the table, her arms crossed tight against her chest. Her mother put a plate in front of her, as though food could smooth over what had just happened. Sweetheart, her mother began softly, this doesn't have to be so complicated. Just transfer the car back to yourself, and then give it to Rachel properly. That way everything is clear. Elena stared at the plate, her stomach churning. No, she said flatly. Her father sighed, pacing by the counter. Why are you being so stubborn? You've always been like this. You dig in your heels and refuse to compromise. Rachel needs that car, Elena. You can fix this mess with one signature. Elena's chest burned. It's not my mess. It's yours. You made promises you had no right to make. Don't put this on me. Rachel stormed in, her arms folded and her face twisted with anger. You're unbelievable. You'd rather see me fail than help me. That's how jealous you are. Elena lifted her eyes slowly, her voice trembling but clear. Jealous? Do you have any idea how many times I've picked up the pieces while you broke everything I had? Memories came rushing back. Rachel tearing through Elena's closet, borrowing clothes without asking and never returning them. Her laptop ruined when Rachel spilled soda on it, and her parents brushing it off as an accident. The time Rachel crashed a bike Elena had saved up for, and her father said, "She's younger. Don't be so harsh." Each moment had carved a scar. And each time, Elena was expected to stay quiet, to forgive, to make herself smaller so Rachel could shine. Her mother's voice cut through her thoughts. She's your sister. You know she doesn't mean to upset you. Why hold on to all these old grudges? Elena's laugh was sharp. Because they never stopped. You always excused her. And every time, I was the one left with nothing. Rachel's eyes narrowed. If you don't do this, Elena, don't expect me to ever talk to you again. I swear, I'll cut you out of my life completely. Her father slammed his hand on the counter. Enough, Rachel. Don't say things like that. But the truth was, he didn't sound angry at Rachel. He sounded angry at Elena, like this whole disaster was her fault. Elena's throat tightened. The room felt smaller and smaller, the air suffocated. She wanted to scream that she had never been chosen, never been defended. That her parents had always let Rachel hurt her, as if Elena's pain didn't matter. She remembered birthdays where Rachel got the spotlight, while Elena's gifts were cheap and thoughtless. She remembered winning a school award and her father saying, "Don't brag, it's not a big deal," while cheering when Rachel passed a basic test. She remembered crying quietly in her room, asking herself if maybe she just wasn't worth loving the same way. Now, in this kitchen, those years of silence wrapped around her like chains. Her mother reached for her hand. "Elena, we're just asking you to be the bigger person. You've always been strong. Rachel needs this more than you." Elena pulled her hand back. "No, not this time. I've been the bigger person my whole life. And what did it get me? Nothing. Not even respect." Rachel scoffed. "Respect? Please. You think you're some kind of martyr because you work a lot? No one asked you to. You do it to make yourself feel important." Her father pointed at her, his voice sharp. "That's enough, Rachel." But still, his eyes flicked back to Elena, as though silently asking her to give in. Elena felt guilt creeping in despite everything. They were her family. She had been taught her whole life that family comes first, that she should sacrifice for them. A small voice inside her whispered, "Maybe you are being too harsh. Maybe you should just let it go." But another voice, louder this time, pushed back. "If you give in again, you'll never stop giving. They'll take everything until there's nothing left of you." She stood up from the table, her chair scraping against the floor. "I'm not fixing this for you. I won't." Rachel's face flushed red. "Then you're dead to me." The words sliced through the room. Her mother gasped. Her father muttered Rachel's name like a warning, but no one told her to take it back. No one turned to Elena and said, "She's wrong. We're sorry." And in that silence, Elena finally understood. They would never defend her. They never had. She walked upstairs to her room, closing the door behind her. Sitting on her bed, she felt the guilt gnaw at her, but also a strange sense of clarity. She thought of all the times she had swallowed her pain just to keep the peace. She thought of how her parents had let Rachel's words cut her again and again without ever stepping in. Her eyes filled with tears, but her jaw tightened. She was done begging for their approval. She was done being the shadow. Still, deep inside, the guilt whispered, "But they're your family. You can't just walk away." Elena lay back on her bed, staring at the ceiling, torn between years of conditioning and the fragile. The living room was crowded with relatives, laughter and voices filling the air. Plates clinked, kids ran across the carpet, and the smell of roasted chicken floated through the house. For a moment, Elena thought she could keep her head down and just survive the night. But Rachel had other plans. Rachel clinked a spoon against her glass, drawing everyone's attention. "Can I have everyone's eyes for a second?" she said with a sweet smile that Elena recognized all too well. "I just want to thank my amazing parents for giving me something so important." Elena's car. The room erupted in polite laughter, but Elena's face burned. Rachel wasn't done. It was about time, honestly. Elena never really used it the way I will. She's always been, well, too busy being jealous of me to appreciate what she has. The laughter grew uneasy. A few relatives shifted in their seats. Elena's chest tightened, the sting of humiliation spreading through her veins. Rachel's eyes were locked on her, daring her to stay silent. But this time, Elena didn't. She stood, her voice cutting through the room. "Enough, Rachel." Rachel smirked. "Oh, come on. Don't be so sensitive. Everyone knows you've always been bitter because Mom and Dad actually support me. Admit it. You can't stand that I'm the favorite." The words hit like knives, but Elena's anger steadied her trembling hand. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folder, her heart pounding as she laid it flat on the table. "You want to tell everyone the truth? Fine. Let's tell them all of it." The room fell quiet. Relatives leaned closer, curious. "These," Elena said, spreading out the papers, "are documents showing that I legally sold the car weeks ago. It doesn't belong to me, and it sure as hell doesn't belong to you. I knew something like this would happen, so I made sure you could never take it from me." Gasps echoed around the room. Her parents froze, their faces pale. Rachel's smirk vanished, replaced by wide-eyed fury. You sold it?" Rachel stammered. "To who?" Elena's eyes were sharp. "To a friend I trust. Someone who doesn't see me as a doormat." Her father's voice shook with anger. "Why would you do something so cruel, Elena? You knew your sister needed it. This is vengeance, nothing more." Her mother shook her head, her voice breaking. "How could you do this to your family?" Elena's chest rose and fell, her voice cracking as she spoke. "Family? You only call it family when it benefits Rachel. When it's me, you look the other way. You never cared about my struggles. You never saw me. I paid for that car with blood and sweat, and you were ready to give it away like it was nothing." Rachel's face twisted with rage. "You think you're so clever, don't you? Selling it behind our backs. But tell me, Elena, do you even know how much they've already taken from you?" Elena blinked, confusion flashing across her face. "What are you talking about?" Rachel's grin returned, sharp and cruel. "That savings account you had when you were 18? The one you thought you drained on tuition? You didn't. Mom and Dad used it. They took your money to pay for me. My classes, my trips. Everything. You never even knew." The words dropped like stones into the silence. Elena's stomach twisted, her knees nearly giving out. "That's not true." Her father's face hardened, his silence louder than any confession. Her mother lowered her eyes, wringing her hands. It was true. The room felt like it was closing in. Elena's voice cracked open, raw and broken. "All this time, all these years, you let me believe I failed, that I couldn't even save for myself. And it was you. You stole from me." Tears blurred her vision, anger mixing with grief. She turned to the relatives, staring in stunned silence. "Do you see now? This isn't about a car. It never was. It's about being the scapegoat, about being the one they always took from, the one they ignored, the one they used to build Rachel up while I was left with nothing." Her voice rose, shaking. "I am done. Do you hear me? I am done being the forgotten daughter, the backup plan, the sacrifice. You can call me selfish, bitter, whatever you want, but I won't be your victim anymore." Her chest heaved as silence blanketed the room. Rachel stood frozen, her parents unable to meet her eyes. For the first time, Elena wasn't the quiet one in the corner. She was the one who finally spoke, who broke the script they had forced on her all her life. The next morning, Elena packed her things quietly. A few bags of clothes, her work uniforms, the folder of documents she had kept hidden. She didn't slam doors or raise her voice. She just moved with steady hands, the way someone does when they know they're done fighting. Her mother stood in the hallway, wringing her hands. "Elena, please don't do this. Families argue. Things can be fixed." Elena shook her head, her voice calm but heavy. "Not this time. I've spent my whole life waiting for you to see me. I'm done waiting." Her father leaned on the doorframe, his arms crossed. He didn't say a word. His silence told Elena everything she needed to know. She left the house without looking back. The weeks that followed were not easy. She rented a tiny apartment with peeling paint and a noisy heater, but it was hers. She paid the bills herself, arranged her space the way she liked, and for the first time, she felt the weight of freedom settle on her shoulder. She cried some nights, not out of regret, but because the silence was strange. No one yelling, no one demanding, just her. Elena started therapy soon after. At first, it felt strange to sit across from someone and speak words she had buried for years. But little by little, she let it out. The forgotten birthdays, the stolen savings, the way her parents had looked past her as if she were invisible. Each memory was painful, but naming them gave her back her strength. Her therapist asked her once, "What do you want your life to look like now?" Elena didn't have an answer right away, but slowly she began to build one. She picked up more shifts at work, but not the soul-crushing doubles she used to do. She started saving again, this time with care and patience. She signed up for a course she had wanted to take for years, but never had the courage to. She invested in herself for the first time, and it felt like breathing after being underwater too long. Meanwhile, Rachel's world began to crumble. Without the car, she struggled to get to class. Friends who once depended on her for rides grew tired of waiting. She missed deadlines, failed a course, and blamed everyone but herself. Their parents tried to patch things together, but the truth was, they couldn't fix the hole Rachel had dug for herself. Elena heard about it through distant relatives, people who whispered updates at family events she no longer attended. She didn't gloat. She didn't smile at Rachel's downfall. She just felt a quiet distance, as though the storm that had once ruled her life was now far away. Her parents reached out a few times, short phone calls, messages that said, "We miss you," or "Can we talk?" But the words felt shallow, like bandages slapped over wounds they never cared to heal. Elena didn't ignore them completely, but she didn't run back either. She had built a life where their approval was no longer the air she breathed. One evening, she sat in her small living room, sipping tea after work, the soft hum of music filling the space. She realized she felt something she hadn't felt in years: peace. It wasn't about winning. It wasn't about revenge. It was simply about being free. Her family could call her selfish. They could paint her as bitter. None of it mattered anymore, because for months later, Elena sat behind the wheel of a new car. It wasn't the fanciest, but it was hers, bought with her own money and her own hard work. The engine purred softly as she drove down a quiet road, windows slightly open, the evening air brushing against her face. For the first time, she didn't feel like she was chasing after anything. She felt steady, grounded. As the streetlights flickered by, Elena thought about everything that had happened. The arguments, the tears, the years of being invisible in her own home. She realized now that the real battle had never been about the car. It was about being valued. And though her parents and sister had refused to see her, she had finally chosen to see herself. She had learned something painful but true. Family isn't always about loyalty, and blood doesn't always mean love. Sometimes the only way to survive is to step away, even if it means walking alone. She glanced at the empty passenger seat beside her, then smiled. She wasn't lonely. She had herself now, and that was enough. As she turned into her apartment lot, she whispered the words that had been growing in her heart for months, words that sealed her journey. They gave away my car, but I finally took back my life. Hey besties. Thanks so much for watching till the end. Elena's parents gave her sister the keys to her car, not knowing Elena had already signed it away. Years of favoritism, betrayal, and pain pushed her to finally choose herself. She walked away, rebuilt her life, and found freedom. They gave away her car, but she took back her life. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more stories.